So the reason you have no friends is not because you're boring. It's not because you have nothing in common with people or I don't know, you think your voice is kind of annoying. It's not that. It's probably down to this one mistake that you're making without realizing. And it's actually super simple to address. So how do I know this? Well, I went through a period in my life where I had no friends. For 2 whole years, I had no friends, which was awful. And then straight after that, another period in which I was stuck in a toxic friend group that I couldn't get out of, where they treated me like shit, but I just had no other options, so I couldn't leave. And that was even worse than having no friends. You know, I always felt like these guys didn't really care if I was around or not. Like they were just kind of tolerating me. And that was actually proved on a few occasions where like I'd check Instagram after school and I'd see all of them like hanging out without me at like the bowling alley or wherever. And they weren't even trying to hide the fact they didn't invite me. Like they just didn't care if I saw or not, which still makes me wince a little bit. But I think it was for the best. Like since then, I've had a lot of new friends. I've made a ton of close friends, friends for life. And I've also cut off quite a few people who didn't really meet that standard for me of what a good friend should look like. So I think I know what I'm talking about. The all too common mistake that I used to make, and I see so many other people making to this day, is you're being too needy. You're coming across as needy to other people, which it is a common mistake. You can be forgiven for making this, but if you fail to address this, you're always just going to come across as that annoying guy, that guy who like everyone wants to avoid having conversations with. Like they hide from him. It sounds kind of brutal, but it's true. You're always just going to be seen as that like low status, annoying person. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly how this neediness occurs and how we can nip it in the bud, stop it from happening. So first of all, what do all needy people seem to have in common? Well, in my opinion, when it comes to interactions, they're all too focused on taking value from the other person rather than giving that value back. So an absolutely brutal truth that I had to learn quite early on in life, and a lot of people don't really want to accept this reality, but it's 100% true, is that all friendships, not just friendships, all relationships are transactional to some extent. They are based on a value exchange between the two people. Like on some level, everyone in your life is with you because of what you can do for them. You can probably tell why a lot of people don't really want to admit that as the truth, because it sounds kind of horrible, but it doesn't have to be like that. Like it doesn't have to be this impersonal thing. Two people are not obliged to hang out with each other. That is a personal choice. And if they do choose to hang out and become friends, at the very least, it's because they enjoy being in each other's presence. They enjoy the company. They like sharing things with this other person. They like making jokes, having good times. That in itself is a value exchange. It doesn't have to be like the exchange of something physical. It doesn't have to be something we're even like truly aware of, but that is still exchanging value. Even your parents, like your parents didn't bring you into this world and pay for everything you had growing up for you to turn out as some jobless bum. Like that's an estimation that I'm making about you. Like your parents probably do love you, but that relationship is still somewhat conditional on you upholding your end of the bargain, like moving out at a certain age and like somewhat making something of your life. So when I'm talking about value, it's not things like money or status being exchanged. In this case, the currency is needing the other person's attention, needing their approval, needing their closeness. And when someone is perceived as needy, it's because they are taking more of these things from the other person than they are giving back. So let me go through some of the ways that this neediness tends to manifest itself. So you have the yes men, the people who agree even when they disagree, who laugh a little bit too hard at the other person's jokes because they have that ulterior motive, because they're trying to weasel their way into that person's friendship. You have those people who you let into their lives and suddenly they decide that they want to be your best friends and take up all your time. You know, they're forcing all of these plans that really you don't want to be a part of. And you also have people who overshare after an uncomfortably short amount of time. Like this one, I think is kind of manipulative because they're almost trying to shortcut their way to that emotional closeness and intimacy that you'd only get after like being friends with someone for a long time. You know, it all just feels really fake. And if you're like at least 1% socially calibrated, alarm bells would be going off in your head at someone doing that. But the most damaging form of neediness of all, and the thing that I used to do all the time, was trying too hard to impress others. So a lot of you, I'm guessing, will be just like me. I used to try and be the funny guy in my group. I'd make jokes at the expense of others. I'd make jokes at my own expense. I'd literally degrade myself for a bit of attention. You know, I figured if I could make them laugh, then I'd proven myself that I was like good enough to hang around them. When really I'm kind of just fishing for reassurance. You know, reassurance that they do actually like me, that they do want me around them. And you know, just think about the power dynamics involved in that. Like, I'm signaling to them that I care more about their validation than my own self-respect. Like on a level, do you think that made them respect me more? Of course not. Like, they're just going to look at me as this low status motherfucker who requires their validation, requires their permission to be there, and who's just competing for their attention. They're immediately going to put me in like a lower category than them, and then they're not going to see me as anything but that. So if any of these sound like you need to put a stop to these needy behaviors as soon as possible. But just as a general rule of thumb, we never want to need anyone else more than they need us. And I know it sounds kind of cold, it sounds kind of depressing, I don't know, but it's just the truth, man. You got to live with it. Like, relationships are supposed to be mutually beneficial. They're not supposed to be benefiting one person more than the other. That is what kind of creates this silent resentment. You need to be like giving value back to the other person for this relationship to be sustainable. And that's what we're going to talk about next. Getting to the root of this needy behavior and fixing it. So I'm sure a lot of people are going to be listening to this advice. They've heard, okay, I need to stop all these needy behaviors. But does that mean that I just act like I don't care? Do I just act like I'm disinterested in the other person, that I don't really want to be friends with them even when I do? That is not what I'm saying. You're probably a nice person. You've probably got a good set of morals. And I mean, you're here watching this video, so you have that natural interest in people and you have the desire to want to make new friends, which is really important. But going beyond that, going beyond just being nice, we want to think about what value we can give back to other people. What do they gain from being around us? We want to shift our mindset from how can we make them like us to how can I make their day better? How can I make such a positive impression that they leave just feeling 10 times better for having interacted with us? And that's exactly what we're trying to do. The type of value we're exchanging is emotional. You know, people remember how you make them feel on an emotional level. It sounds kind of corny, but we want to spread those like positive vibes because that is what will leave that lasting impression on someone. So a super underrated way I learned to project that more positive, naturally attractive energy to other people was just through being passionate about something, having something to be passionate about. You know, so many people in my age group approach conversations with this like really flat, unenthusiastic energy. They just seem like they don't want to be there. And they're no fun to talk to. But the reason they're like that is because that is how the whole of their life feels. You know, they don't really have that reason to get excited in the morning. Their life doesn't have that spark, that challenge, that thing to get fired up about. And the law of state transference dictates that our emotional state, our mental state, actually ends up rubbing off on the other person in conversations. They end up feeling the same way. So what do you think is going to happen if we think our life is boring? If we're bored by our own life, then we're definitely going to bore other people. Whereas if you're someone with a mission or an ultimate goal that you're working towards, or like a hobby that you're absolutely obsessed with, you are going to be excited about life. You're going to have that contagious enthusiasm which carries over into all other areas of your life, like the way you communicate, the way you carry yourself, just like your approach to life in general is going to be so much more uplifting. And I'm not just talking about if you were to get into a conversation about whatever your passion is. I'm just talking about in general. your baseline energy is just going to be like up here. Like you're going to be more optimistic. You're going to be like more curious and open to learning new things. And also the fact that you have like more direction in life, like you know what you want and you're pursuing a goal, that also makes you less needy, because this random conversation and the opinions of some fucking NPCs are not the only thing that you're drawing your self-worth from. You're like, you've got this amazing project that you're working on, which gives you so much energy and like self-respect. And that passion is exactly what I look for in potential friends. So this is an amazing way to provide value. Have that thing in your life that you are passionate about. You need to decide what this thing is for you. It needs to be something which is fun, obviously, but also equal parts challenging and also time consuming. Something that you can put a lot of time into, which takes time to get good at. Like for me, this is YouTube. Like I've made almost 150 videos and I'm still barely scratching the surface of being a good creator. It takes time to master, but that's part of the reason why it's so addicting, why the sense of progress just gives me so much energy. I can't tell you what it does just for my overall enjoyment of life. And that means I am carrying this more positive, excitable energy into my conversations. So let's quickly cut to the second thing you can do to stop being so needy. And that's to just give yourself more social options in general. So if you're someone who doesn't have too many friends, it's actually kind of normal to come across a little bit needy in conversations. Because think about it, like that neediness is coming from scarcity. It's coming from a place of not having enough of what we want. So if someone shows us kindness, if we view someone as a potential friend, we are going to be kind of worried about like losing out on them, because we're worried like there's not going to be someone else to replace them. We have limited opportunities to make friends, but that is going to handicap you a little bit. Like your energy will come across as more needy, as more anxious, because you're worried about fumbling. And the way I juxtapose this is it's a little bit like when you're speaking to a girl. And this is going to sound like some fuckboy shit, but this is just true in my experience. I'm always more composed. I'm always more confident and relaxed and able to show off my true personality with girls when it isn't just one girl. When there's not one girl at the center of my universe. I'm always better when I'm talking to like at least 3 girls. And that's because I'm not always thinking about the worst case scenario. Like I'm not too concerned about fucking it up with this one girl, because there's other girls out there who I'm talking to. Like it's simple. So it goes without saying that if we want to make new friends, we have to put ourselves in situations where we are going to meet new people. If you're not prepared to accept that, then just click off the video. But that is exactly what we want. Instead of being focused on individuals, one person at a time, we want to cast a wide net. We want to speak to as many new people as we can. I'd honestly recommend setting yourself the goal of speaking to 5 new people every single day. Not only will your social skills just get 10 times better, but you're going to take yourself out of that mindset of scarcity and into abundance. You're not going to be worried about fucking up every single opportunity because, I've already spoken to 4 other people that day. So those are the 2 things I'd recommend. Build up whatever your passion is and just be social in general. Speak to a lot of different people and get out of that scarcity mindset. So I hope this video has been really helpful for you so far. And just some parting words to close things out. So throughout all of this, we don't ever want to feel like we're forcing a connection. We don't ever want to feel like we're having to compete for someone else's time and attention. That's not right. Like, we need that to be reciprocated at a bare minimum. So if people aren't giving you that back, then just fuck them. Like, move on to someone different. Move on to someone who is going to give you that courtesy. Even if you only have a couple of friends, you still have some standards to preserve. Like, your friendship should not mean nothing. It should be a privilege to be your friend. Like, you need to set those standards high. Like, don't just allow anyone into your circle. You need to make sure they're the right kind of person, because your energy is a finite resource and you want to give it away to the people who actually make you feel good. So that is all from me today, bro. I will see you in the next one.